There is a skull found in South Africa with two perfect holes in the back of it. The researchers who first examined it assumed it was a fracture. Then they measured the holes precisely. The distance between them matches exactly the spacing between the fangs of an adult leopard. The human ancestor that skull belonged to had been hunted at night, captured by a predator that could see in the dark when he could not, carried away through the darkness to a place where no one ever found him. That skull is more than 2 million years old, and that raises a question that almost nobody asks. When you feel that familiar discomfort the moment you turn off the lights, when something inside you goes on alert for no apparent reason, when the dark of a hallway at 3 in the morning feels different from the dark of noon, what exactly is happening inside your brain? And where does it come from? We have a story we tell ourselves about the fear of the dark. That it is something for children. That mature adults outgrow it. That it is irrational, primitive, something reason should have eliminated long ago. That intelligent people are not afraid of the dark, but the evidence keeps telling a different story. A more complicated one. A more human one. And nowhere is that story more surprising than when we trace this fear back to what darkness actually was for our ancestors and what it meant to be alive inside it. Let's go back to million years. The first humans in Africa were not at the top of the food chain. They were far from it. In 2005, anthropologists Don Hart and Robert Sussman published a book called Man the Hunted that challenged decades of anthropological theory. Their argument was straightforward and disturbing for most of our evolutionary history. We were not hunters. We were prey. Lions, leopards, hyenas, crocodiles, snakes, large birds of prey. The fossil record is full of the evidence. Skulls with claw marks, bones with tooth marks. One human ancestor with a skull punctured by leopard fangs and evidence of having been carried into a tree, exactly what leopards do with their kills. Today, and almost all of those predators had one thing in common: they hunted at night. Leopards have eyes with a concentration of photoreceptor cells 6 to 8 times greater than humans. Lions are most active during moonless hours. A study published in 2011 in the journal PLOS One, conducted by researchers who monitored lion attacks on rural communities in Mozambique over 21 years, found that lions are significantly more dangerous to humans in the weeks following a full moon, when the nights grow darker before midnight, and the predator has maximum advantage over prey that is essentially blind. Think about what that means. For most of human history, darkness was not discomfort. It was the moment when the things that could kill you were at their peak, and you were at your worst. Every night without fire was a gamble, and your brain knew it, not consciously, in a way that was much older and much deeper than conscious thought. Researchers at the University of Toronto, in a study published in 2012, found that the anxiety most people feel in the dark is not a full panic response. It is something more subtle, a low-level alertness that increase in vigilance, a sharpened attention to sounds and movements that would normally be ignored, exactly the state that would keep a primate alive on a dark savanna. In 2021, researchers published a study in PLOS One that mapped what happens in the brain when light is removed. The amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, the same structure that fires when you see a snake or hear a sound behind you, increases its activity in the dark. Light literally suppresses the amygdala. Darkness releases it. This is not psychology. It is neurology. It is hardware, not software. It is something written into the circuitry of your brain by 2 million years of nights in which staying alert was the difference between waking up and not waking up at all. But here's where it gets more complicated, because ancient humans did not simply become afraid of the dark and surrender to it. They did something no other animal had ever done before in the history of life on Earth. They brought the day into the night, the oldest evidence of humans deliberately making fire dates to approximately 400,000 years ago. In December 2025, archaeologists announced the discovery of a site in eastern England belonging to Neanderthals with burnt soil, scorched flint hand axes, and fragments of iron pyrite used to strike sparks from flint. It was the oldest evidence of fire-making ever found anywhere in the world, pushing back our understanding of when humans mastered fire by 350,000 years. But fire did something that goes far beyond protection from predators. And this is where the story becomes truly remarkable. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner of the University of Utah published a study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences that changed the way scientists think about what fire actually did for humanity. She had spent decades recording conversations among the Jew, Honsi Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last groups on Earth still living something close to the original human lifestyle. What she found was this: during the day, conversations were practical. Who is hunting where? Which plants are ready? Disputes about resources, economic and social logistics. But at night, around the fire, everything changed. More than 80% of nighttime conversations were stories. Not logistics, not complaints, not planning, stories, tales of distant places. People they had never met, adventures, myths about how the world began. Jokes that made the whole group laugh. Wiesner argued that firelight conversation is where human culture was born. That fire did not just drive away the predators. It created the time and the space for humans to become human. Think about what happened on those nights. Before fire, darkness ended the day. When the sun went down, the group went quiet, waited for dawn with the kind of anxious silence that every prey animal knows. The night belonged to them, to the predators, not to you. After fire, the night was colonized. Those hours that once belonged to the leopard now belonged to story, to laughter, to shared memory, to imagination. Researchers who have studied the cave paintings of Lascaux and Chauvet, created 30,000 to 40,000 years ago, found that the artists worked by the light of animal fat lamps, and that the effect of flickering flames on the cave walls created the illusion of movement. Animals that appeared to gallop, heads that turned, legs that ran. Modern researchers describe this as proto-cinema, a form of theater that was only possible in darkness. By firelight, the dark that had been the territory of terror became the territory of art. But here's the part that nobody talks about. That fear never went away. Not completely. It could not go away. Because it was not in your head, it was in your architecture. 2 million years of natural selection did not erase themselves because you installed electric light. The 2021 amygdala study was clear about this. The same brain structure that made your ancestor of 2 million years freeze. When he heard a branch snap in the dark still functions in your brain today. It still detects darkness. It still raises vigilance. It still interprets ambiguity as danger. Because for almost the entire history of human life, interpreting ambiguity as danger was exactly the right thing to do. Your brain does not know you have a lock on your door. It does not know the lions were left behind on another continent in another millennium. What it knows is that darkness is when things happen, and that staying alert when you cannot see is the safest bet any living creature has ever been able to make. Now think about the last time you lay awake in the dark with a thought that would not leave. That state in which everything feels larger, more urgent, more unsolvable than it seemed in daylight. That moment when small problems become catastrophes and large ones become insurmountable. That is not weakness. It is not modern anxiety. It is not something your generation invented. It is the amygdala doing exactly what it was built to do, using the darkness to keep you awake, keep you alert, keep you scanning for threats. Because for 2 million years, the human who relaxed in the dark was the human who did not make it to dawn. Ancient people had no word for nightophobia, the clinical name for a pathological fear of the dark. They did not need one. For them, the fear of the dark was not a phobia. It was wisdom. It was the most precisely calibrated instinct they possessed. It was what kept them alive night after night, generation after generation, until they finally found a way to answer the dark that no other animal had found. They did not eliminate it. They did not defeat it. They did not learn to stop being afraid. They made fire. They told stories. They painted on cave walls by the light of trembling fat lamps, turning the territory of terror into the territory of imagination. They did not try to make the night safe. They made it theirs. And every time you turn on a light in a dark room, every time you switch on the television when you cannot sleep, put on a podcast when the house gets too quiet, send a message to someone at 2 in the morning just to hear a voice, you are doing exactly what they did. You are not running from the dark. You are making fire. The question is what you put inside the light you create.